This is a video showing you how we do our batch labels. I'm Greg.
I'm Julie, and we're the Crafty Winers. So we're going to talk a little bit about batch labels and how we do it. I've seen a lot of people do it different ways. You can keep a notebook or a journal or anything like that, but it's really important to keep notes on everything that you've done with your product, especially if it's different than the base recipe for each batch. That way you can keep track of things you liked about it. If it didn't turn out like you wanted it to, you'll know what you can try differently next time, stuff like that.
Yeah, if you don't do this, if you like a wine, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to recreate it because you may not remember everything that you did differently than the recipe. So this is basically going to be your memory, and if you've got more than one batch, or if you're old like me, you need something to help you with your memory.
Old like us, you mean?
I wasn't going to include you in that.
Getting old's fun.
So what we call a batch for this purpose is anything that is fermented in a primary fermenter together. And every time I start a batch, I add a new number to my batch number so that I have a sequential batch number that I can always look back on and see what that was.
So if you happen to split off batches, such as you're splitting a 6-gallon primary fermenter into 6 single-gallon wide mouth jars, copy the entries from the starting batch so that you have it on each split. You can use dashes and periods to identify the new split batch. So if the 6-gallon primary fermenter had a batch of 1, 2, 3, let's say, each gallon it was split would be 123-1, 123-2, etc., or however you want to do it. Totally up to you.
I'm going to show you basically what our batch sheet, our batch label looks like. I'm going to link this in the description below in a PDF so that you can download it and print it off. But it prints three batch labels per sheet, and then you can just use scissors and cut on these lines so that you end up with 3 batch labels. But you can see here that we've got a description, a batch number, and again, every time I start a new primary fermenting batch, I'm going to take the last batch that I did, add 1 to it, and that's my batch number. I've got a spot here for recipe. When you have a recipe, it's really good to name that recipe, and then you use that name here. So if it's Grand Mimi's Merlot, that's what I would type. And I'm going to assume that unless it's noted here, I'm following that recipe exactly. If I vary from that recipe, then I'm going to want to make sure I make an entry. So you've got a spot here for a date and then a note.
And like we're doing a lot of craft wines, infused wines, so we make sure we make a note of what that is, like chocolate or coffee or bourbon, etc.
I also name my recipes. That's what the description is. So that may be something like the March of 2024 chocolate Merlot, and that identifies what this is. I can also look at the recipe to see what it is, but the description is also telling me the month and the year. So you're basically just making a log and making entries in your log. So
feel free to be more creative than him.
Most people are. So what I usually do is I'm on the first entry, I'm going to say what my initial gravity was. And if you don't understand what that is yet, we'll have, there's going to be a link up here that is going to link you to our hydrometer video that shows you how you get specific gravities and initial gravities and final gravities, calculate your ABV and so forth. Every one of those things should be an entry on here. Every time you use the hydrometer, you really should log what the specific gravity reading was when you measured it.
Why don't you show him an example of your good handwriting?
Yeah, nobody's gonna be able to read this.
Nope.
This is batch number 25. It was a Merlot, and you can see, yeah, you won't be able to read any of that. So I'll just tell you that it has everything that I'm telling you should have on it. Just trust me on that.
He should have been a doctor. Instead, we're making wine.
That we are. Money's better, right?
Yeah. So every time, like you said, every time he tests something, we make an entry. We make any changes to it, like add some more of the infusion or anything like that.
If you add sugar,
Or add sugar, yeah.
if you're adding sugar to make the alcohol content higher, you want to definitely note that.
And as a side note, we will also have a video on that coming here shortly, and we'll link that here too.
So for Merlot, as an example, we use a couple different concentrates. One comes from Amazon, one comes from Williams Brewing. I'm going to definitely note that. I don't have a blank here for it, but I'm going to write it at the top which concentrate I used. So again, just anything that could change from recipe to recipe, make sure that you've got it noted on here. So after I have these in separate labels, I'm going to tape them onto the outside of my primary fermenter, or in the case of a Merlot with a carboy heater, I'll tape it on the outside of the carboy heater. I'll insert a picture here where you can see what our room looks like with the notes on our fermenters, so you kind of get an idea of what that looks like.
So if we taste the wine along the way, we'll make entries noting what we've tasted, what we like about it, what we smelled, notes that are in the wine. Of course, we never taste our wine because we don't like wine at all. Just kidding.
Was that a cheers moment?
Yeah, that was a cheers moment. So yeah, when the last couple we've tasted, we noted some initial smells, the taste, what we liked and didn't like about it. Mostly we've liked most of the stuff about it, but then we know what we want to change or add to improve it for the next time.
So also, you see my bottle labels here. These are actually for an old batch. I note the batch number. Nobody's going to really know what the number is unless if you know, you know. It's that little one there is a batch number. So when I look at a bottle, I can see on the label what batch number that is. And always if I give it for Christmas or whatever, somebody comes back and says, man, that was the best or that was the worst bottle of wine I've ever had, I'll say, hey, what's the little number in parentheses? And then I can go back and find batch number 1, because you never want to throw these batch notes away. After you take them off the bottle, take the tape off. And if you use the blue painter's tape, it comes off without tearing the paper usually. Take that off and then save the batch notes. But when you get that batch number, you're going to be able to go back and say, oh, that's what I did differently on that one than maybe other batches. So.
But nobody's ever going to say they really hated that bottle of wine to us, right?
Probably not to us, unless it explodes in their kitchen, and then maybe they'll let us know.
Like we had happen? Yeah. You didn't mention one really important thing about those labels. You need to point out the cute little furry things that are on there.
Yeah, so this is our label. It's called Pippin Nori, and that's a combination of Pippin and Nori, our two corgis. So you can see here the two corgis are on there, and they look just like our corgis. So, yeah, this is what you see on our bottles. Coming up soon when we do the bottling video, which we're going to do soon, and we'll come back and link it. We'll show you more about labels, how we generated these, and what they look like on a bottle.
So that's basically the information we wanted to share with you on how we keep our batch labels. Like I said before, totally up to you how you do it. I have seen some people do some cute things with journals, and then they save them to pass along to their grandkids and great-grandkids over time, which is kind of a cool idea. So I guess you could even take the batch notes that we have already created and put them into a scrapbook for future generations, which is kind of cool.
Cool idea.
Thank you guys for watching this video. I apologize that some of these videos that we've put out just recently are a little on the boring side maybe, and maybe you guys are pros and you know all of this stuff already, but we wanted to give you kind of a step-by-step process on all the boring yet important stuff along the way, and then we'll get into some more exciting videos with recipes, and we're going to do some wine tastings and just kind of have fun with it.
When we start doing the more exciting recipes, it's going to we're not going to repeat all of the stuff that we're repeating here. we're going to link to a video and say, if you don't know how to do batch labels, go watch this video. And that's why we're doing the boring videos first, because we're going to assume you already know this stuff when we do a more fun, exciting, this is how you make a jug of wine video.
So if you like this video, please press like, leave us a comment, let us know what you liked about the video. Feel free to ask questions, we will respond to you. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more of these videos. Tell it you want to see all of our videos. Even if you're lying, that's fine. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Cheers.